Mr. and Mrs. the Ministers, Mr. Mayor, Mr. the Rector of the Politecnico di Milano di Giovanniazone, dear friends from the Politecnico, and especially dear Rector Adriano De Maio, dear Rector Giulio Baglio, and dear Professor Giancarlo Spinelli, dear friends and dear colleagues, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for École Centrale Paris and École Supérieure d'Électricité, and for me, to be one of the speakers of such an exceptional event. I would like first to express all my gratitude to the Politecnico di Milano, and especially to my dear friend Rector Giovanniazone. My presentation focuses on higher education and some proposal for a European strategy, and we discussed that already with your presentation. Because it's, as a matter of fact, higher education is a part of the great ambition of Europe to make Europe the world's most prosperous economic area founded on innovation. And Europe is already devoting considerable resources to this ambition. And that because, obviously, higher education has become a major issue worldwide. And to illustrate that, I will take the example of Stanford University. The first one is I was extremely impressed and surprised discussing 8 years ago with John Hennessy, the president of Stanford, when he told me that his ambition was not to be the most prestigious university of the world. His strategy was just to supply the greatest minds to Silicon Valley. The second example is how surprised I was 5 years ago when we made the survey and we discovered that most businesses and companies in the Silicon Valley that have been very successful are not the result of Stanford and Berkeley research, less than 5%. And the key factor of success being, of course, the extreme ease of finding capital. But the most important factor is the extreme density of available, mobile, and brilliant young graduates. And last year, discussing with Jim Plummer, who is the Dean of Engineering of Stanford, he told me at Stanford, 10 years ago, all we talked about was research. And now, all we are talking about is education and teaching. Of course, this is more global. And the environment of higher education is continued to evolve quickly under the influence of four major trends. First, the importance for the states to be able to rely on high-quality academic cluster to build the information and innovation society. Second, the continued growth of training needs and the number of students at rate of more than 7 million additional students a year in the world, essentially in Asia, with a paradoxical shortage of high-level engineers. Three, the emergence of emerging countries, especially China, India, and Brazil, who, to meet their needs for graduates and especially engineers, support their best national institutions with considerable resources. And last, the development of the digital society, which will profoundly change higher education and the balance of our institution. And this revolution, of course, concerns also the businesses and the company. They are more than knowledge, more and more. They are increasingly interested in competencies, abilities, and adaptation and development potential of the students. Even if they are privileging local recruiting, they are looking for very diverse talents all around the world. And finally, they want to have more global partnership with higher education institutions whose benefits for them are clearly defined. And the students, last, are changing too. They want to preserve their freedom of choice and are very demanding concerning the quality and the relevance of what is offered to them. More and more mobile, they no longer hesitate to seek the training that seems to them best suited with their plan elsewhere, even elsewhere, and to optimize their demand of a, let's say, reputation cost compromise. And last, they are imbued with the problem of their time. Sustainable development, ICT, and international are part of the world. So the synthesis is very simple. The competition between the best institutions is going to intensify based on brand values for students, the value of the scientific environment and the level of the students for the professors, and the exchange of value between the institution and the business for the companies. And this company is therefore going to become exacerbated for recruiting the best professors and researchers, for partnership with the most prestigious companies, and above all, for attracting the best students. Therefore, our development strategy is becoming essential. Europe has assets, as was mentioned before, and namely, it continues to be the leading world market. The most important market in the world is Europe. Europe is the world leading scientific power. If we are considering the number of scientific publications, Europe continues to be the leading scientific area of the world. Europe is the #1 area for hosting students choosing to study outside their own country. Europe has a recognized tradition of academic excellence. And last, and which is probably very important, Europe offers an exceptional cultural diversity. But also, Europe has weaknesses. The Bologna system, in fact, obscures great diversity that makes the European offer difficult to read. Despite Erasmus, intra-European mobility is still too limited. The European value proposition is not so clear, and let's consider that Europe had some shortage of emblematic brands. What can we do in this environment? And we'll take the example of my institution, first recalling that Centrale Supélec will be founded next April, and it is the merger of Centrale Paris and École Supérieure d'Électricité. And creating Centrale Supélec, we are offering ourselves the means to achieve our ambition, because Centrale Supélec will allow us to carry an ambition projects that we can't carry only out together, and that will ensure our future. In fact, Centrale Supélec will have an international dimension. We'll see a very significant increase in its development capacity. We'll cover all the field of the engineering disciplines in education and research. Well, it will be the, let's say, undisputed leader in France, particularly in the Saclay hub. Some word about the Saclay cluster. Sorry. So, Centrale Supélec, nevertheless, therefore, has a flattering position. We are ranking #2 in France. We continue to draw the best students of our generation, who usually find an excellent job when they are graduate. Our research has made enormous progress during the last 10 years, and the largest French companies trust us. But by the way, it's very fragile. Our international visibility is too weak outside the academic world, and lack of human and financial resource, and I come to your point, compared to the most prestigious Anglo-Saxon institution. So we have ensured what is the development model we have chosen, nevertheless, to go in the right way. To ensure our position in France and succeed internationally, first, the first point is to increase the quality and the relevance of our engineering training system. Centrale and Supélec are the best example of the so-called French engineer education. It is what led us our reputation and our success, and therefore it's our best asset internationally in the competition. Further, we will also continue to improve our research visibility, and therefore we will push the improvement of our intrinsic performance. But overall, we will establish our leadership in the Saclay cluster, since Saclay is making progress and will have an international profile. At present time, Saclay is virtually top 20 in Shanghai ranking, and I hope one day we will be top 10. A few words now about Saclay cluster. So 20 kilometers far of Paris, 2 universities, 10 grandes écoles, 7 national laboratories, and laboratories of company are now merging. Some of them are moving there, some are already there. And in next year, it will be 60,000 students and 11,000 academic and researchers cooperating mostly on science and technology. So, last point of our development model is to adapt our growth objective in France to the financial condition, namely the low public fees led us to have a moderate growth for our community members and a strong and profitable growth for non-community members. And for our specialized training and especially long life education, we will have a strong development in order to get money. And last, and it is a key point of our strategy, we'll have to establish our brand internationally, because unlike the business school, our education model is not a worldwide standard, and so we have to establish in this country. So we have a strong growth initiative and strategy outside in order to follow the growth market, offering sound financial conditions that generate resources. So finally, what is our strategy? First, to affirm our leadership in our French-style engineering training. Two, to pursue the construction of an excellent, visible, and recognized world-class research center. Third, to pursue the intensification of our relation with business. And last, to pursue our internationalization development and our international presence. We are now operating École Centrale Beijing. We have been operating it for now 9 years. It's 10 years starting now. We will start Centrale Casablanca next year, and we will start in year 2015 Mahindra École Centrale in India with the financial support of Mahindra Group. And so it's exactly the figure which has been shown by Giovanni. We intend to be present in the part of the world where the future is prepared. The success of this strategy requires a mobilization of considerable resources, and we again are coming to the resources problem. It is potentially very profitable if you examine that, but investment are necessary. It therefore assumes consolidation, national consolidation at a French level. The first one, as I mentioned, is the creation of Centrale Supélec in next April. The second one is the creation next year of the Université Paris-Saclay, which will be, as I mentioned before, 15% of the public research in France. And we are also conducting a revival of the Groupe des Écoles Centrales. Centrale Paris is, let's say, the mother institution of the 4 other écoles centrales in France, Marseille, Lyon, Lille, and Nantes. But obviously, it will be more effective if it is developed through also European alliances. And what could be the basis of a European strategy? The first one, I know that it has been a great point of debate in France and Italy, but we have to make use of English as an education more widespread. If we want to have a future, we must turn to English. Second, we have to build effective European networks. These networks are existing, but they also have to be focused on outside Europe activities. Third, we have to make intra-European mobility commonplace. Our students must move from one country to another as a normal situation inside Europe, if you are believing in Europe. Four, we have to construct an international attractive offer, targeting the incredible open market of students, founded on the European tradition of academic excellence, but also based on the European identity and its humanist tradition, the proximity with business and industry in particular, and of course, studying an attractive price offer. Five, Europe must have an aggressive strategy, and I think that Erasmus Plus and H2020 are going in the right direction. But also outside Europe, and Europe must support initiative outside Europe, and especially cooperating offshoring networks. And last, and it is probably one of the key points, Europe must bet heavily on pedagogical innovation, and not only on MOOCs, I say pedagogical innovation. So, how the European Commission could support such a program? First, it must recognize and encourage the use of English in all European higher education. Second, it must continue to support intra-community mobility. And maybe we have to think about not an harmonization, but let's say the limitation of the diversity of the doctorate in Europe. We made a survey in Time Network, and the diversity is so large that really it's not very easy to cooperate inside Europe at the doctoral level. 3, Europe should support network of institutions that wish to cooperate outside Europe, and takes this opportunity to recommend the recognition and more cooperative activities of the Time Network. 4, Europe should support the promotion of the European offer on the open market. Maybe it would be interesting for that to have a political reflection on the European identity. And last, Europe should support, to bring heavy support for pedagogical innovation. Open and ended call for project seems to me required. It can't be done through a 6-year program. It's over the flow and the flux. Things are going very quickly. I recall that Daphne Koller, the founder of Coursera, MOOCs, told me recently, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going there very quickly. Finally, so as a conclusion, Europe must continue to structure and develop the higher education and research areas through innovation, for innovation, of course. However, one of the major issues becomes the appeal of excellent non-European students and to propose them high-level education. Therefore, Europe must support the initiative of the institution in this domain, and especially pedagogical innovation, by encouraging the strategic initiative compared to the structural initiative. We need more strategy and less structure now. The project logic compared to the institutional and program logic, and mostly the as-needed project support compared to long programs. My strong believing is that 6 years is too long. We have to go in a more dynamic way, because the countries outside Europe will not wait for us. Finally, we are sharing this vision with Politecnico di Milano, and I'm happy to say, as Giovanni, that the Politecnico di Milano and Centrale Paris, sharing this vision and the same European conviction, will have decided to initiate with TU Berlin a strengthened strategic alliance, and I think it's for our institution a very, very good news. Finally, I would like to wish an excellent anniversary to the Politecnico di Milano, to wish that the next 150 years of the Politecnico di Milano will be as fruitful for Italy and Europe, as successful and as brilliant that its first 150 years, and to confirm how important it is for Centrale Paris and Supélec, and for Centrale Supélec, and for me, our alliance based on 30 years of cooperation and friendship, and how confident I am in our success. Thank you for your kind attention.